All right, cool. You good with that angle?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Why are you so nervous?
I don't know.
Push this.
Because I've been listening to it, so I want it to be like good, and I don't know what I know what I'm gonna say, but like I hope I articulate
Don't
it
worry.
well.
Just
Okay.
pretend it's like any old scene. Oh, are you ready?
Yeah.
Right.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready?
So this is gonna be part of the intro.
That's right.
Okay.
You know your stuff.
I know my stuff.
Welcome to another episode of Long Form Conversations, the podcast where we talk about long form improv. I am your host, David. And before we introduce our guests, I have a couple of business things to get out of the way. We're a couple episodes in now. I just want to make sure that you understand where you're listening from. So if you're listening from Apple Podcasts, please don't forget to rate me 5 stars. If you are listening through YouTube, please do the thumbs up and subscribe. And if you are listening through Spotify, I don't know, do whatever they have. But thank you so much. Just want to get that out of the way first. But okay, we're going to go ahead and introduce our guest now. Today's guest is a very special guest. She has been haranguing me and harassing me about getting onto the podcast. Begging me. So this might be a very different episode, a different energy than we're used to having. She is an improviser. she is a very talented improviser, a award-winning editor, a great teammate, a terrific host, and an all-around good friend. Please welcome Anja Boltz.
Thanks for having me, David.
You're welcome.
You made it seem like I held a gun to your head to be on the podcast.
You didn't hold a gun to my head, but so obviously we're teammates, and I'm gonna have all my, everyone I know on the podcast eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's right. There's a but. I was saving you for episode, like a special episode, like episode 10,
okay,
25,
oh,
the 100th episode.
Okay,
maybe not that far.
Yeah. Thanks.
But you were like, let me go on. But you know what? Lucky number 7. This is episode 7.
That's my favorite number.
Is it really?
Yeah, genuinely.
Why do you have favorite numbers?
Yeah, I'm numberist.
Numerology.
I'm numerologist.
Okay. What's special about 7 other than being lucky?
I think it's a good shaped number. I think it's very clean. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Got a strong presence. And it's hard to figure out. It's hard to know what it adds up to, what it multiplies. That's the one that I'm like, it's a mystery. What's 7 times 7? I have no idea.
49. But
wow,
it is
that's
hard
a big number.
It is hard to figure out what's divisible by 7.
Yes.
There's all those rules. Sorry, I'm a big math nerd.
Mm-hmm.
But those rules, like if it's an even number, it's divisible by 2. It's divisible by 3 and 2, it's divisible by 6.
Yeah.
If you add up all of them and it's divisible by 3, then it's divisible by 3, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
The one for 7, I learned it one time, and it is like, she got a lot of steps.
Yeah.
It's like you got to add it and then divide it.
She's
and then add it and divide it.
Mm-hmm.
And add it and divide it. And if it's 7, it's divisible by 7. I'm like, what?
Oh, wow.
So it's a crunchy one.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get caught up. You know what's interesting? We've seen each other like every day since Tuesday. Today's Friday now.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And Monday. Yeah, no, not on Monday, huh?
No, but and we also went on a retreat together recently.
That's right.
So I feel like we got all the catch up.
I've seen a lot of David, man. I've seen a lot of David.
I've seen a lot of Anja.
Yeah.
That was a fun drive up to the
Joshua retreat.
To Joshua to do a retreat with our team recently. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started talking about the podcast, and you kind of did your soft audition.
Okay.
You were like, you guys want to hear about my improv
That's
background?
not true. You guys harassed me for. I said I was going to save it for the pod.
That's right. Sean asked.
Just do it now.
Yeah. Sean, episode 1, we all drove carpool together. He started asking about yours, and you're like, but I want to save it for the podcast.
Well, yeah, because now I hope that I do it justice, because I already said it. It's fine. This is gonna be great.
It'll still be fresh because can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
I wasn't listening.
Damn.
I wasn't paying attention.
Damn.
Because I also want to be fresh.
Okay.
So it was, you were trying to hold back, and I was trying to block out.
Okay.
And then poor Sean was just having a one-sided conversation. First of all, a great show last night.
Thanks.
That was super fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We did the Brittany and Janet show over at the clubhouse with our team, Curly Sue, award-winning team, Curly Sue.
Yeah, David and I have been on a total of 3 teams. Glass Clown, Bread Crew, and Curly Sue.
That's right, 3 teams. Yeah. So that's the most I've been on any team with
one person. Yeah.
Yeah. And also we prepared for the Herald auditions together.
That's right.
Yeah. So that was a really great moment from practicing together and doing it to seeing it through and getting Lloyd together.
Yeah. Okay, buddy.
I told you I had stuff. Don't worry. But yeah, like that was it's really nice to see someone. I think we started around the same time.
2019.
Oh, not at UCB, but like you started doing improv like before, like
before UCB.
Yeah. I think I started UCB at like 2018, but I went slower and everything. But
yeah,
gotcha. I feel like we have really similar
came up
journeys.
at the same time.
We came up together.
Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So, do you have any questions for me?
Oh, okay. How's it feel to be on your 7th episode?
It feels good. As you may recall.
Congratulations on 100 plays.
Thank you so much. That's right. The big 100. As you know, this whole podcast started off as a bit.
That's true.
Because I was like, hey, remember long form conversations? Let me use my last name.
Yeah, I helped you with I was one of the people voting on the name.
That's right. Yeah.
Long form conversation and Improvster Syndrome. Yeah. Which is nice that you still incorporated that into the podcast. Yeah.
So I'm really glad. I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'm just really happy that this is going, and like there's people that are interested. I knew there would be, and everything's kind of catching momentum.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. How does it feel to what have you done recently?
Oh boy, what have I done? I'm on Lloyd. I'm on Glass Clown. I started doing the shared experience shows.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm producing the Herald experience.
Yeah, you're busy. You're a lot of.
I'm busy. I think improv takes up 90% of my evenings of the week.
Yeah, probably, right? Like
when you
have like 1 or 2 evenings free only.
Yeah.
And you also, sorry to out you, you do a lot of your work at night too. Did you have a late night edit last night?
No, we had a show.
I know, but you could have gone home and done it.
No.
Look, I don't know. You're always like staying up to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm staying up till 3 anyways. But yeah, no, it's been really chill.
You stay up till 3?
Most nights, yeah.
Okay, is that like your normal rhythm now?
Yeah.
What an artist! What a night owl! That's kind of like.
I mean, it's tough because we do improv, right? So we get. I get all amped up.
Yeah.
For these shows, and then after the show, I'm still buzzing, and then I go home and I'm still buzzing.
Yeah.
I'll like watch a show or something. I'll try to chill out, but I'm up.
That might be a fun thing to talk about, to explore. Like, what is your wind down or your cool down thing? Because absolutely. After a show, I get super energetic.
Yeah.
I think I usually get it out by talking afterwards.
Yeah. So when that doesn't happen.
Yeah, if that doesn't happen, I get fast food and that puts me right to bed.
Oh yeah.
That's not the healthiest thing to do, but that's definitely like I put on some TV or some YouTube and then I eat some fast food and I pass out.
Dude, I think the fast food reward for after a show, like I'm also there and it's also like a slippery slope. That and like drinking after shows.
I know. Is
something that I'm trying to be more mindful of.
What do you think is like probably the healthiest thing someone has ever done after an improv show? You like for instance, just falling asleep though.
Yeah, gone to sleep.
I wonder if anybody
meditate, yoga, or something like that.
Yeah, like that. I was wondering. I wonder if everybody like runs a mile after an improv show.
No, maybe.
But I could see meditation or some like mindfulness exercises.
Yeah.
But I would say the majority of us out there just drinking, smoking, eating.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Is that enough catch up?
Sure.
Okay then. One last thing I want to add. You've been listening. You're like my number one biggest fan. You've been listening to all the episodes, haven't you? Do you know what the first segment is?
This is where like I tell my backstory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to intro it?
This is Improvster Syndrome.
This is a segment where you talk about your improv journey, everything you've done to get to this point here. And for you, I already know a little bit about it, but what I kind of want to hear about too, I want to hear about like even the pre-improv days. Like, were you funny in high school or middle school?
Yeah.
Just bluntly.
Yeah, I was. I would say. Well, my therapist would say after my parents' divorce. Okay, we can cut that part out.
I think I'll leave that part in. I mean, okay. If you feel comfortable, I think it's important to talk about.
Sure.
You know, how that like was a formative moment, a catalyst.
Totally. Yeah. Well, she would say that maybe my parents could say otherwise, but we kind of figured out that like I realized I was funny around third grade, and they got divorced in second grade. And I just started when that happened, like I moved, my parents lived in different houses, and I had a best friend, Nicole, that lived in my dad's neighborhood. And I just remember like our friendship was like, even in the early days, just always cracking up, always doing these characters, always putting on little shows. And like, my dad like transformed my basement into kind of like a costume closet and like a play area. So we were always, doing that. And even in fourth grade, like my little friend group at school, because she didn't go to my school, I knew that I was like the funny one. Like that was my role. I was always just like doing faces or like, again, like characters or making jokes, embarrassing myself to like make my friends laugh,
So you said you met Nicole in second grade, third grade?
Third grade, yeah.
And she was just a neighborhood friend, not even a classmate.
Mm-hmm.
So all this was, I guess you could say, like extracurricular. When would you guys hang out? Like after school or summer breaks, weekends?
Weekends, and weekends and every Wednesday night.
Wow, that's so cool. So you're just like making the most of your weekends, having like playtime and exploring, being creative.
Oh yeah, I mean, we would play spy, like we would play.
Tell me how you play spy.
Well, like oh my god, one of the funniest things, we would play nun spy, which is where like we would take blankets and put it like around our heads, right? Like we were nuns, and we would start at the top of the stairs, and my dad would be watching TV on the couch downstairs, and we would start at the top of the stairs. And our mission was to be as quiet as possible, to like sneak behind him and go to the basement without him noticing. But it was just like, he always heard us,
And he probably didn't care.
He didn't care, but he was like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. And
I go down to the basement again?
Yeah. And
go ahead.
I have this core memory, because our front door closet, it had like a fabric curtain, but it was right at the bottom of the stairs. And there was this moment, this core memory, where Nicole was in front of me with her blanket like trailing on this her blanket trailing on the stairs, and I like purposely like stepped on her blanket, and she like went for it, and she just started leaning like her whole weight with my foot on the back of her blanket, and then I just let go, and she like tumbled right into the closet. Oh my god, it was so, I mean, maybe that was bullying, but it was really funny. She laughed, I laughed.
She laughed?
Yeah.
All right, well, dang. That's so funny.
Yeah.
So that's great. You kind of already started to explore like your sense of humor like at a young age,
Yeah, and I sent you a video earlier, but like, we would put on costumes and just like open up my MacBook, turn on photo booth, and just like, I didn't even realize that was improv or like what improv was, but we would just start doing characters and scenes.
Yeah, so earlier before this interview, again, Anza's trying to prep me like a producer, and she sent me a clip from like the old MacBook photo booths.
Sepia.
Yeah, with the sepia filter. But it was just you and your friend playing around and doing characters, doing voice, doing bits.
Yeah.
Yes, standing one another.
Yeah, and
couple
she
of
was
denials.
Yeah, I was big denial. It's funny watching that and seeing maybe what my like, I don't know, what really our dynamic might have been. But she was, I mean, no question, like much funnier than I.
Stop yelling,
Those
woman.
cops will beat your butt.
You're right next to me. Stop yelling.
I ain't yelling.
What you say to me?
I said I'm
You
not
with me?
yelling.
You with me?
You're crushing my baby.
Yo, baby, that's a dog. That's a darn
This
old
ain't no
dog.
dog. Look what he's doing to my honey. Stop.
It's a dog.
Stop. It's not a
She
dog.
put it on a
It's
leash.
in the womb.
It's like she's hilarious. Even to this day, she cracks me up.
You still keep
know?
in touch with her?
Yeah.
And does she do improv?
No, she's in med school right now. She's about to start her rotation.
Do you see her when you go back?
I haven't seen her in a long time. Yeah, but we text and call every here and then.
That's nice. I always like get like I'm touched, but I'm also like jealous of like people with long friendships like that, because it is I think it's very valuable and really important. It's like, and it just goes to show like your like your inner child and that person are still so closely to that tied, to have that much change over time.
Yeah.
Like, it has so many facets to that relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the same. We're obviously not like doing improv together, like playing in the same way. It's not.
I bet you could though.
We could. I'm
it's
sure
like
we could.
in your bones. It's in her bones.
Yeah. Yeah. True. I'm sure we could, but yeah, it's not the same relationship as it was when we were kids, and I'll always have like the biggest piece of my heart there. But it's nice because we just have so much love for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I've always thought that improv is really just like friends playing together, kids playing together.
You're playing.
We all did improv at some point early on, very implicitly. And, it's just, you say that you're one person. I'm like, yeah, you're that person. I'm that person. And then you just continue to build upon each other.
Yeah.
Or if someone denies you, it's like, no, I don't want to be that. You just quickly adjust. Like, okay, fine. Now we're not that anymore. We were bank robbers, but now I guess, we're the guys that work at the bank. Or now, it's so like pure and like fun joy and like creativity.
Yeah, you're not even thinking about it. Like, it's funny as adults playing pretend, like we had to relearn, or like we had to learn with some form of structure of how to play with each other. Whereas when we were kids, like it wasn't even a question or a difficult thing to do,
Yeah, and I think it's also because like you're trying to entertain yourself, you're also trying to entertain your friend, and like that part of it is just,
or your parents, whoever's watching. We used to just like sit our parents down and be like, we're about to do a play, like
unwritten,
completely unscripted, like one was like a Christmas play and Nicole was Santa, and that's all we knew going in.
Dang, yeah, themed montage, huh?
Totally.
Oh man, that's so fun.
Yeah. Anyway,
so you did a couple, so you did some like theater, you did some like plays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Yeah, little, like a tiny bit.
How about in high school?
High school, not until I moved to New York, which we'll get to really quick. I just want to finish like pre-New York, right? So yeah, SNL was a dream, and I really wanted to do Tina Fey's route of going to UVA, becoming a writer, then going and doing Second City, and then hopefully SNL from there.
So when you were in South, did you know Tina Fey? How did you know about Tina Fey's route?
Reading Bossy Pants.
Wow. So what age were you when you read Bossy Pants?
I think that was early high school at that point. Yeah.
That's so wild. Such like the fun things. Cause like I feel like a lot of people read Bossy Pants, get inspired. Read Yes Please, get inspired.
Yeah, I read that too. Yeah.
I read Bossy Pants. Maybe I was like 22, 23,
Yeah.
So yeah, like it is funny, but same thing, like reading that, understanding what they, and it was at that point I was actually past college. I was like, oh, well then now I gotta do improv. I gotta move to a city and like do that,
Yeah.
So that was great. You were following in Tina Fey's footsteps.
I wanted to, yeah. But
were you already a fan of hers, or did you like go back into the back catalogs to watch old SNLs with her? Or did you watch 30 Rock, I guess, at the time?
I didn't understand 30 Rock as a kid. I feel like because I just didn't understand how that whole like TV dynamic worked. Like The Office was much easier for me to digest as a kid.
Because you hung out in offices as a kid all the time.
Because I hung out all the time. It was always bring your daughter to work day, you know. No, I think just because the characters were really strong and goofy and likable, whereas 30 Rock, it seems like a lot of the characters are like dicks. I don't know. Yeah. Same with Community, right? A lot of the characters are like dicks to each other.
That's kind of, like, because it's just, satire. That's kind of the point. You're supposed to not like them, even though people do. That's
tough for me. Even like It's Always Sunny is funny, but again, they're really dislikable characters, you know? Yeah. But anyway, okay. And then so after that, again, I was still like the funny friend, also just getting into a lot of situations that like I knew were bad or like weird and failing. And then like the biggest thing was like telling them that story, you know?
What do you mean by a situation that was like bad and failing?
Like, especially with like crushes, like doing really stupid things to pursue a crush and it going so wrong. But like even if it went wrong, like I was so pumped to tell my friends like how wrong it went.
Oh, you know? I see what you're saying. So like you would turn like the
like a bad situation into a joke,
into a funny story or a funny joke. Yeah.
Totally.
So like you weren't afraid of being vulnerable. You weren't afraid of like laughing at yourself or turning.
Not at all.
Interesting.
Even to the point where one of my friends said, like, I love when bad things happen to you.
Oh my gosh. I don't think that's a friend.
Trauma. I don't
Maybe
know.
not a friend.
No, he's a good,
Okay.
But like
but that's that takes a lot of maturity, or it takes a lot of like, like high, I don't know what you'd call it, high self-worth, because so many people avoid that stuff. They hide that, especially when you're young. I remember my big thing, anything embarrassing happened, I'd be like, no, that didn't happen. You're a liar. I remember one time that exact thing happened where like I asked out, I forgot who I had asked out. Oh, that's a bad look on me. Well, anyways, I asked out a girl and then she said no. And then my friend started telling me, and I was like, that didn't happen. No, that was like that's the classic thing. That was a joke. No, we were rehearsing a play.
Yeah.
I did not ask her out. Like when ultimately I could have been, and probably maybe would look cooler to my friends. Like, asked her out. She said no. Oh, well.
No, but for the next one, for me, it was even like weirder. Like I wasn't asking anybody out. I was just trying to do things. I was trying to do things. Like the only thing I can remember that I did, the only thing that I can remember that I did was like, it was like Halloween in high school, right? Like freshman year. And I dressed up as a spider witch queen. I was combining a lot of themes into one. And I thought like my crush would be like, ooh, like she looks like dark and sexy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I showed up to school and nobody else was dressed up. So I had this like big veil, this like dark smoky eyeliner, literally everybody in normal clothes, right?
Was this Halloween the day of, or just like October 29th? It's one of those weird days.
Well, maybe it was that. Maybe it's like a Friday on the 29th, which would make a lot of sense. But I remember like I was like, my crush is gonna think this is hot, and I saw him in the hallway, and I like went up to him and I like tapped him on the shoulder. I was like, hey Ed, and he turned around and he kind of like, he was like freaked out, jolted, he like jolted. And in that moment, it crushed me, but I also couldn't wait to tell my friends that had happened,
Yeah. Oh, that's so like, I don't know. I think there's strength in that. I think that's courageous.
Appreciate it.
Because again, well, absolutely, like it's almost like you guys can make fun of me for this because I'm telling the story. It's my joke. So in fact, if anybody laughs about it, it's a W for me, versus for most kids, myself included, other people own that joke and they're like, just see what happened to David, that happened to David, and everybody's laughing. Now you're getting laughed at, but you made yourself
I told it before they could talk about it.
Yeah. And again, I think that's very powerful, very like, ooh, like socially, like a strong thing to have.
Thanks. Yeah.
So would you say then like your friends knew this? Like, were you like, oh, like you said your friends liked it when bad things happened to you, but were they like, oh no, poor Anza, or were they just like, yo, dude, Anza's she got another one,
dude, exactly like that. We would just be cracking up about it, Yeah. And even today, I think it really carries into like living rooms.
I want to save that for later.
Okay.
I want to talk about that.
Okay, we'll talk about it later.
But let's go ahead and
okay. So continue, right? So my end of my sophomore year, my dad got a job in New York. And he was like, do you want to move with me? And at this point, he hadn't had much custody of me. It was like primarily my mom. So it would be a big change, not only like physically, but relationship wise with him, right? And I was like, hell yeah, like closer to SNL, like absolutely, So I made the move and like kind of immediately realized like, whoa, I left behind everybody I've ever known, this like comfort of community and friends where I was like purely me, unabashedly weird and silly and funny, right? And I moved to a private school, K through 12. They knew each other their whole lives, 64 kids. And they were all like rich as fuck,
64 kids from
in my
kindergarten.
Class. Yeah, from kindergarten. Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Versus like a private school.
Yeah. Versus a public school with like 700 kids,
Help me out here. Cause do you ever watch Gossip Girl?
Yeah.
Is it like anything like that?
Gossip Girl was based on that school.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So you were Dan Humphrey. You're the new kid.
I was Dan Humphrey. Yep. And I just like, I didn't feel comfortable being weird or funny because everybody was super cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah. I kind of hold up and I was in a spotlight of like being a new kid. Right.
Yeah.
So I became really introverted and, I started just like, I was really inspired by Lana Del Rey's like first, music video for Blue Jeans. I don't know if you ever saw it, but it's very like random clips montage together, right? So that's what I started doing was like taking my little camcorder and just like filming New York or little things and editing together a mashup to a song. Where
were you doing this? Like computer lab in your room?
Yeah, my room on my computer.
Your dad got you like a MacBook?
Yeah, I had a MacBook.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What a big change for you from like, I guess, having fun and doing stuff after school and gagging and having a good time. Yeah, sorry, that's not what I meant. Just giggling around. And then when you come to New York in this new world, which I'm pretty sure we can all agree, like we would be in the same shoes. We'd be like, this is fucking weird. I can't fit in. So you kind of like not relegated, but like you're like in your room
introverted,
now, hold off and doing your little like music video covers. That's amazing.
Totally introverted, maybe like a little tinge of depression, right? But just kind of it was very stimulating creatively. And it was kind of when it was time to enroll in colleges, I realized like I really enjoy editing and I also still like have this comedy dream. So I went to a school that had both an editing major and a comedy major because I was like, editing can be my day job, comedy can be my night thing until comedy takes over.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. I mean, I'm editing montages of random videos, which is what I did when I was a kid,
Yeah.
And that's my living. But anyway, I went to. Or do you have a question?
No, okay. I was just listening. That's my listening face.
Okay.
Does it look like I have a?
You look like you were about to like say something, but like a sneeze. So yeah, I went to Columbia College in Chicago. Shout out CCC.
Shout out.
Nothing
CCC.
like the university is 98% acceptance rate, like all art school. And yeah, double majored in comedy and editing. And my end of my first semester of my senior year, I did like a intensive at Second City, where it was like that counted as a whole school semester where you're just studying at Second City. And then my end of my senior year, I moved out here for my study abroad and got an editing job and just stayed out here and started doing UCB.
You're breezing through this because I think
this was the
part where I think we were talking about in the car.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
let me try to like summarize it and then you let me know.
I know. I guess I gave a lot of context about my childhood and nothing
Yeah, and
about
like,
the actual training.
And then I went to Second City and I went to UCD and I guess that's it.
Yeah.
But obviously, so you went to college at Columbia College, and then it was like you got school credit for this, right? To be able to go to Second City,
Yeah.
which is so fun, which is so unique. I'm not sure. Maybe USC does that, but I don't think a lot of places will give you like credits for taking improv classes.
Yeah. Emerson was the only other one that did that.
Emerson.
That I know of.
Oh, that makes sense. That's why I met so many Emerson kids.
Yeah. Right.
So then you did their intensive, which is the same thing that Sean did, but this is kind of like you did the improv, but also it was sketch involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was your first touch? Because you wanted to do sketch. Like, how was your first taste in sketch?
So it was improv, acting, movement, like physicality and movement, history of comedy, and writing. And just to talk about sketch really quick, it wasn't that we were really, it's interesting, we weren't like, putting on costumes and performing the sketch. We were writing sketches, and it wasn't until our like big show at the end that we actually kind of like did that. But otherwise, yeah.
So there was only one performance at the end. There wasn't like multiple.
No, there were no like showcases of
wow. It. So that was that all 4 years? With that just one semester?
Just one semester.
Oh wow. So it was like 3.5 years of editing and then 1 semester of comedy.
Well, there were some comedy classes that I was taking through Columbia for those 3 years.
Yeah.
But I didn't
it was mostly editing.
It was mostly editing, and also I wasn't super ham into that community because I didn't feel like I like had my people. I felt like they were really cliquey and also very like, I think our comedy taste didn't align. They're also very just like hipster and like.
Yeah, I was a film major. I think film people are just so singular because everybody. I think because can't get nerdy here, but like like the auteur is the director. There's only one director, and there's not a lot of collaboration.
Talk about singular editing. You're in a room by yourself,
But rather, I guess like even then, like the editor probably gets some notes from the director.
Yeah.
So you have to like kind of collaborate with someone else.
Yeah.
Versus. And not to say all directors are like this, or not to say this is what's right, but like a lot of directors are just like, no, it's just my idea. I don't need to listen to somebody else's idea, which is why I found it tough whenever you're talking. Even if it was just like, so what's y'all's favorite movies? They were like, I want to like, they're like, let me come up with an answer that no one else come up with,
I know.
And I was like, can we just admit that we all like The Dark Knight and we're all friends? But they didn't want, everyone's like, I'm better. I know more. I have a better, artistic eye than you.
They want to be niche.
Yeah.
I had no taste like that, or like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I had a half foot in both majors. Yeah.
But once you did that, you liked it. You said you found community and everything.
Only at Second City.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was friends with like my roommate and her friends, which was all the music scene.
Yeah.
Ironically
Also
enough.
very collaborative.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then you had an internship in LA. Interesting. And I asked this question of I think a couple of the other past guests too. Was there a reason why it was LA, not New York?
Because I'd lived in New York before and I didn't really love it.
You want to hit all 3 branches?
Yeah. Also that. Yeah. And I remember like in 2017, before I moved out here, I mean, more in detail about this story, but I came out here for the first time and I saw a UCB show in 2017 and I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
so you always wanted to come to UCB LA?
Yeah. I always wanted to UCB. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, that's important. You gotta talk about that in your journey.
I know. Yeah, that's true. I talked a lot about my childhood.
All right, great. But then you move out here and then 2019 and then let's talk about the UCB days. Let's talk about, did you already take 101 in the past?
No.
Yeah, so many people did that. I think that's so interesting. They're like, I came here to LA for a 1 week vacation. I took an intensive. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Like, how do you retain that? Right.
Yeah. And also like, that's not what I would want to do on a vacation.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Now that I've started improv, if I went to Chicago, like, I think that's what I would do.
Yeah, totally.
But, to like, let me get a taste of LA and take an improv class while I'm getting a taste of LA. There's so much here to see and do. That's why it's shocking.
True. Yeah.
But okay, tell me about your first class.
Yeah, so I did 101 with Monica Smith, who's great. I really only got up until 301 before the pandemic hit.
But how'd you like those classes? I know you saw a couple of shows, and I think UCB's style is like pretty applicable to like a lot of things. If you would have seen SNL, if you would have grown up watching Second City, I think you can apply what they're teaching to like things you already know.
Totally. Well, what I'll say is that like I feel like at Second City it's very much organic, free form. Whatever happens. And that was really tough for me to grasp onto, because it was just kind of like, where are we going with this, you know?
Versus, and you're an editor, you gotta know where you're going.
I need some structure. And coming to UCB and studying UCB was like, oh my gosh, here's something I can grasp onto, like game and, you know, heightening and like joke structure. That was like super huge, and kind of finally being like, okay, I can do this. Yeah. Because before I was crap Ola, man. I was shit.
How did you feel about coming out here, like getting out? Because you did not do any performing beforehand. You did stuff with your friends, of course, but like now you're in front of a class of like 16 people and you have to do improv. How did that feel?
Dude, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And I think I said a lot of,
it's like you and your parents, like you have to watch this scene.
Yeah.
I'm the Santa Claus.
Yeah. And I was big pirate energy. Like I was always doing really big characters. Saying a lot of like questionable things, very like trusting things in the living room with a bunch of strangers, you know? And then I think it wasn't until like really my 101 class there was like a smaller group that became a practice group or like a team. And we had Monica as our coach. And it really wasn't until, you know, 201 and practicing with Monica, because she goes in on notes. Like she's really sharp.
I've had her. Yeah.
Yeah. That I kind of was like, oh man, like some brain fissures started happening of this. There's a lot more than just like being a big personality and character in a scene, you know? And so I started just like, getting in my head, growing pains, kind of retreating to the back line a lot more, you know? Even just, it didn't feel as freeing as it did the first 101 class.
Sure. Yeah. 201's always gonna, I think, do that to you.
Yeah.
But by the end of the class, did you feel like you had a better handle of game, or did you come out of 201 like, oh boy?
A better handle of game. Yeah, I better handle of game, and also, you know, had a really positive teacher and still got laughs. But it was kind of a motivation of like, wow, this is really tough. Like, let's try and get good at this. You know what I mean? Which I'm sure you also have felt too, you know, when you're faced with a challenge, instead of like failing and backing out, being like, let's go even harder until I can get this, because I really like this form, you know.
It's Aries, baby. If there's anything in our way, we actually ram our heads harder against
That's right.
it.
Yeah.
So after 301, how did that go? Was that a better experience? Because that's the Herald now, and that's like even more structure.
The Herald pattern game. It felt better. It's really hard, honestly, for me to remember, because right after that was when the pandemic hit.
Right.
And I knew I was still ass, or like not great. I knew it still wasn't clicking. I knew there was a lot more to learn. So I binged Zoom improv. I went crazy. I think I took 26 classes over the pandemic. Yeah.
Dang.
I was doing it like 6 hours a day, 5 days a week, like a job, you know?
And I think that's like a through line we're trying to see with all the people that I'm having. I gotta find some non-Zoom people, but honestly, the people that end up thriving and doing well, that the 2 years, you know, when theaters were closed down, like they didn't let that stop them. They figured out with Zoom. And how did you like Zoom improv?
I loved it.
It slows everything down.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of things to juggle.
Yeah.
You're just juggling simple, like who, what, where, first unusual, and then let's work on that.
Exactly. It's not the same pressure of like, standing up in front of a class, being like physically aware of you and your space, and also physically aware of like an audience, because people would black out their cameras during scenes, but you're just focusing on what you're saying and being clear to your partner, and even just like emoting through a camera so that they know what you're saying. And it was also cool because all the classes were very specific. It wasn't 301, 401 anymore. It was like justification classes, initiating classes, focusing on one part of improv.
Where were these classes through?
UCB.
Okay. You were taking the UCB ones.
Yeah. All my unemployment was going.
Dang.
Yeah. Because I moved back home.
Those are expensive.
Yeah. I moved back home and just all my unemployment went to UCB.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that and I think it hit a lot of us at the right time. Because here's the thing, like if we had been doing improv for like years and getting a lot of stage time, I could probably agree that like doing Zoom would probably be like, oh no, it'd be like if we did Zoom now, we'd probably be like, oh no, I can't do this. But because we were like at that time where it's like we've done the classes, we've done a couple practice groups, we're hungry, we're itching to do improv.
Yeah.
But we haven't even experienced like I've done a couple of shows in person. You probably did a couple of in-person shows, but it was like
not great.
Not enough.
Yeah.
Not to the point where I was like, I feel good about it. I was still definitely like in my head and focused. So to be able to strip out all that stuff like you mentioned and just focus on like the writing aspect, most of it, not like, even the acting is just like, I'm sad. Right. But we know what we need to do. We know the right moves and everything. And that made us feel a lot better. And then once we transfer to in person,
then you're golden. Yeah, totally. I think I got my legs doing all that. And also, we had nothing else to do during the pandemic. So it was a blessing that UCB or, we improv or we just even anybody was doing online classes.
Yeah. It was definitely like a good time to like jump in and start because you can only play Breath of the Wild for so long.
Totally.
You beat that game, you're done.
Yeah, totally. Even binging like improv podcasts. When you're coming up and you're listening to improv podcasts, that's huge,
Yeah. Reading the books, listening to podcasts like this one or the other past ones, like they all help you so much, especially like when you want to do it, but there's no shows to see.
Yeah.
There's no classes to take. There's very few jams to do. And it's all expensive. You have to pay for all these things. Like it sucks.
Yeah.
So to have like a free podcast you can listen to is amazing. My big thing, in addition to doing Zoom improv, like Off Book podcast, you ever listen to them? You should definitely check it out. It's musical improv. And because it's musical improv, like it transfers audio very well. And they do like the best narrative stories. It's like these long stories and they sing songs in between. And at the end, it wraps up in a nice little bow. It's great.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Okay.
But that was like, I didn't have any improv to watch or see. So Off Book became like, oh, close my eyes and imagine.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. And then after you finish that, of course, things reopened.
We was the first thing that I joined. I did maybe one or two over the pandemic, but it was the first in-person thing, which people have mentioned before.
I don't know if you remember, but we met
at
a Wii on an online class.
Yeah, that's right.
I think you might have only been there for like one or two sessions.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
I just remember distinctly because I saw your name. I was like, oh, Anja or Anja. But then you're like, my name is Anza. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to mess up her name. So I had to like memorize it. Like, it's spelled Anza.
Yeah. Damn. So we've been in even more.
That's right.
teams.
Yeah. We have even more overlaps.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But then first, we class that opened up, I think I jumped on it. You jumped on it. And that's where we met. And then Glass Clown was born.
And then just all those reps. Now UCB, fucking Lloyd team.
Yeah. Curly Sue.
3v3, fucking won a championship with our 3-prov.
Yeah. Once we get over that hump of like feeling good about it, like then I don't want to say it's easy, but like it's definitely like we get to finally reap all the seeds that we had sown.
Yeah, your growing pains are over.
I mean,
you're still growing, but it's easier to digest and it's much you're much sharper at like taking these new harder notes, you know?
Because like, right when things were opening, like right after we created that team, we were performing like once a month, I think, at and then the clubhouse opened, and then that expanded us and gave us opportunities to perform like a couple times a month, you know? And as more things open, because we were like prepping this whole time, these whole past 2 years, we were to pounce on. It's like, oh, theater's open, let's submit ourselves. And for other people, it's like, oh, we got to scramble. We got to get a team together. We got to get practice together. It's like, no, we've had that stuff, you know,
going.
Locked and going.
A lot of people took a 2 or 3 year break, you know?
So like by the time things started reopening up, we had 2 years worth of momentum. So we were already like running at pace. For other people, it's like, oh, we're still warming up. You know? So I think that can't be discredited. And that's something that I always like want to applaud. I'm not patting myself in the back. But I'm like, we got to applaud the people that like, we're continuing to grow and do the work over the pandemic. Great.
Cool.
Anything else you want to mention about your journey?
No, it's been great.
All right, great. Well, that has been Improvster Syndrome with Anja Boltz. Do you want to introduce the next segment?
Our next section is topic of the week.
That's right. So we have our topic of the week, and we had talked about this before, and it was going to be finding your personal voice, or your unique voice. And I'm glad you picked this one because, again, having been on so many teams with you, one of the things I enjoy most about is your unique voice, and like what you bring to the table. I think that's also why so many people are like, they want to play with you, they want to have you guest, you know, because you bring something that no one else can bring.
Thanks.
And I want to start off, and I put the little pin on it earlier.
Okay.
Dude, we got to talk about your living rooms, your monologues, your stories. We were at a show together earlier this week. I'm not going to repeat it, but you gave, like they were interviewing the audience, and you gave a wild story. And that's one of the things I love about being on a team with you is that, like, I know if you guys want to talk about cooking, I got a cooking story. I know that's gonna be a banger of a story. I know there's gonna be a million things in there, and then now this makes sense that you grew up doing that already. That you're like, oh, okay, I got something.
Dude, I grew up doing crazy things and thinking I was so invincible. And so I have so many stories from that, you know.
And how do you like recall all of them, or how do you like have those also ready? Are these all stories you told in the past?
Oh yeah, I've told them a million times. And also I like have to give major credit to my grandma on my dad's side, who's like Irish descent, and she told stories so well and like hilariously. Like she could have been a big comedian if that was like in her cards. But I think just growing up around her and hearing, like, having that muscle memory of like learning how to tell a story is a big factor in like that. I love telling stories.
Interesting. So like in hearing your grandma tell stories, even you were like, there's a art to this, or there's a way to do this well.
Art. There's a you got to lead with a quick kind of punchy line to get them in, right? And then I feel like I'm seeing the structure of the story as I'm telling it. And of course, if I've told the story multiple times, I've added in jokes that have worked. I mean, it's stand-up brain for sure. Like, I know what works. I know what's going to get people excited. It's also like in the way that you tell it. Like, you want to be emotionally invested in the story so that the person listening is also like, whoa, or like animated, you know? Even when I was telling that story at the theater, I know I was being animated because like I still feel those feelings when I tell it.
And that's another thing that I think you do really well is that like I think if I were to tell a story, like, I don't know, oh yeah, once I'm on a vacation, yeah, it's pretty cool, blah blah. Like because I probably like thought about it already, like I already know how I feel about it. But you have a good way of like, no, like it's like sense memory. Like, let's just throw out the same emotions I was feeling that day. You know, because for me it's like, oh, I don't think you feel anymore. You're like, but if you want to tell the story well, you gotta feel it again.
You gotta feel it again.
It's like Adele crying when she sings a song.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is like when it comes to the living room, I feel like with the improv brain, I've gotten to a point where like I also know what a scene needs, which is like a relationship, an emotion, and an unusual thing, right? So I want to tell stories that have all three of those elements.
And hearing about your background, hearing about like all this, like it all kind of really culminates, really adds up and explains a lot about like how you play. Because one of the things I really admire about you is that like in scenes, like you will crash on purpose. I think for the most part, our instincts are always like, let's just say dumb example, like you and I are cooking, we're cooking in a scene, we're cooking, right? For me, I'm like, let me just think about how to make an omelet. So my brain is like how to do things right, Oh, well, can you hand me those eggs? And don't forget to chop up. I'm like thinking about the ingredients, chop up the tomatoes. And then while I'm doing that, you chop off your hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So your brain goes there. Your brain goes like, it will be funny. This would be a great story to tell, David.
Yeah.
Remember the time I chopped off my hand?
Totally. Or something really like that I wasn't even expecting that I would do would happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's happened a lot where we both kind of like look at each other like I can't believe I just did that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You surprise yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So how would you say like you found that? Like you found this ability to do this?
Okay, so I prepared for this one. I got 3 C's, okay, of how to find your voice.
Oh wow, these are gemstones, baby.
Okay, my 3 C's, right? Okay. Community, consistency, and where you came from.
Okay, let's hear about this.
Okay. So I'll start with kind of the obvious one, consistency, right? Consistency is doing your reps, doing practices, doing shows, and hearing what choices you're making in scenes and what's making people laugh. Like what is the audience grabbing towards that makes them laugh that you're doing, right?
So like if we're doing improv in front of improvisers, we know what's gonna make them laugh. A lot of like inside jokes, a lot of like technique stuff.
Totally. Yeah. And what, even if it's a slip up or a physical thing, what's making them laugh that you do, right? Community, I'll say, is the second thing, and that's who you're around that you can be you and discover you. So like our team, for example, like I feel so safe to take big swings and be myself, even when we're hanging out. Like I am myself, versus earlier being on like teams, before I was like well versed in improv, it was kind of stilted, or like if the chemistry wasn't there, it's like I didn't feel like I was me. I felt like I was holding back or like trying to be just able to be like in the group, if that makes any sense.
How long would you say it took? How much consistency do you think it was before like you felt comfortable around class clown?
I think pretty quickly, because I think we were all like cool to be fools, like ready to be fools, and I think we're clown. Yeah, I think we're down to clown, and I think we're all just really safe people and like cool, genuine people.
I think that's an important thing, like that I want to touch upon really quick, because I totally agree. Like when you find your people, it shouldn't be difficult or hard, because when you say consistency, and I totally agree that is an important one of the C's, it's also the like, if you've been at a team, with a team for like 3 months and you still aren't feeling it, move on. Move on. So it's interesting, like but obviously once you do find them, the consistency is now staying with them and scheduling things around them. You and I, we've all both had to like say no to a lot of different opportunities, had to schedule a lot of things around class clown because we value that. And the consistency is not really so much with them, it's with us. We had to find consistency with this group to make it work.
True. And as well, even outside of the teams, like consistency in getting to know other improvisers and feeling safe to be yourself around them, and thus like performing in front of them. I remember like after beginning of days of I was nobody, I wasn't friends with anybody, and everybody was already friends with each other, and I would make a point to like but in those conversations, like get in there and like make conversation, as painful or awkward as it was, like I wanted to be part of this, so
I want to thank you for doing that too, by the way, because I like it's so weird. It's weird with improv, but like in any other environment, I am that person. I feel comfortable to do so. I don't care if it was like I did it a lot at college, I did it at work, at different like networking events, conventions. I'm always just like, I need to talk to that person. Like I'm like a ram, it's like a shark. I'm like, I got to talk to the person. Hey, how's it going? My name's David, blah, blah. But with improv, there is something about this, maybe just because we know that these are like going to be long-term relationships. I can't have a bad first impression. If I make a bad first impression, then for the next, year or two, they're going to be like, oh, I don't really want to book David or be on a team with David because he's awkward. Right.
Yeah.
So it's higher stakes. But I want to commend you because you were the person that kind of broke a lot of those barriers for me and probably for a lot of our teammates too, where it's like, oh, Anza knows them. Anza can be my,
your wingman.
My wingman, my conduit, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
So again, like I want to commend you for being able to do that, where you're just like effortlessly like, hi, I'm Anza, blah blah, and this is David.
Yeah.
Hi.
No, I think that's huge, and thank you for saying that. Yeah. I'll wingwoman you anywhere. I think it also goes hand in hand with like I'm not afraid to look like a fool or like look like an idiot. It's like in every situation that's fine except for with a crush. Like I won't approach them, as you know.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll wingman for you anytime you need it.
As you have. Thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's and it's different as for work too, because this time you're showcasing your personality versus like what you're knowledgeable about, what your cred is in a work environment. This one is all about who you are, yeah, and being vulnerable in that way.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we have community, consistency,
and where you came from.
Yeah.
Which is, I think with those two things, evaluating like what was it about your upbringing, your childhood? What was about your upbringing that makes you, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, like, again, my dad's side and my dad, very logistical, amazing storytellers. And then my mom, and sorry, Mom, if you're listening to it, but she's crazy. Like, she is so surprising in everywhere, so unusual. Her logic, I don't know where it comes from. It surprises me every time. And she's also like, English isn't her first language, so she slips up on a lot of words, which I also do. That one pallbearer scene when I meant to say like ring bearer, like we were doing a wedding. No, you don't remember this?
I think I vaguely do. Yeah. So you said ring bearer instead of or you said pallbearer instead of ring bearer.
Yeah.
And then they made everybody think it was a funeral.
So then people brought the casket,
Yeah.
So I think for me personally, it was just kind of realizing like, for my parents, like what two parts of them are me and what about them makes me laugh. Mm-hmm. And like even with my mom too, like physical comedy is huge for me, and that's something I realized over time works because I get the reaction from the audience, and people have also given feedback of like, that's something that you're really good at. And I've leaned into the fact that like I have my mom's body, and so I think about like what would she do in her body that would like make me laugh or like look really strange, and like I know that that's also gonna look that way on mine,
Yeah. Speaking of physicality, did you like have like, and you took that movement class, like did you ever do like any like, I don't know, like dance, karate, anything?
Yeah, actually I did martial arts. Yeah.
Really? Mm-hmm. I did not know this about you. Mm-hmm. What kind?
I did taekwondo and then I did kung fu.
You did two of them. How long?
Maybe 5 years.
Dang. Mm-hmm. So that explains a lot. And everybody watch your back. She can kick your butt. But like, martial arts is, even though it is a violent thing, it's still like dancing. It's still choreography. And it's still being like totally spatially aware.
Yeah.
I remember I did so about me, if she can kick your butt, I can dance it. I did dance in college.
What?
And
what'd you dance?
Modern dance. Okay. But I wasn't very good. I didn't have I was too old.
Like popping and locking.
Yeah,
that's
like all
cool.
that stuff. But I didn't have I didn't the muscle memory for it because it wasn't until I was like, 20 that I started moving my body around.
Yeah.
But some of the people that were really good, I'm like, dude, did you dance before? Blah. I was like, no, I did martial arts. I'm like, how does that transfer? And they like explained it much better than I did. But it's just like, if I know I need to have my hand here, my leg here, I can see it and I can replicate it a lot better. So I was gonna say, well, like I just think that like seeing you like on stage and also explaining the story about thinking about your mom, like that's really important, where you're just like you're almost thinking about your body before you think about what you're gonna say.
I'm so aware. Even in and I think I also feel a lot through my body, like even in storytelling, even when I like talk about like I got a crush, like
Mhm.
there's like
Those are your
little dances and like movements, because I genuinely like I feel that feeling throughout,
Yeah. That's so great that you have this connection with your body.
yeah
In a way that most of us are like taught to like tuck in. You're like, no, let loose.
let it out.
Let it out.
Yeah.
So there we have it. Those are Anja Boltz's 3 C's, the
Yeah.
ABCs of finding your voice.
Yeah. I hope that helps. And it takes time too. You're not gonna find it immediately, but it's there.
Well, 3 C's and 1 T is not gonna be as catchy. So
3 C's.
We'll throw out the time.
We'll throw out the time.
I want to ask you about this too. Like, what are your influences? Like, your mom is a big one, but like comedically coming up, were there anybody where you're like, oh, that's fucking good, like I want to incorporate them into my voice or into the way that like I perform?
Yeah, mom was big, grandma was big, and then like on TV would be like Bill Hader, Kristen Wiig, the golden days of SNL. Fred Armisen, Maya Rudolph too. A lot of people say I look like her too.
I can see that.
So I can see like some of her features, like I also like want to like replicate that,
or like the way she like expresses things.
Yeah,
I can see that. That's pretty interesting. For me, you got the 3 C's. I got the 3 Jasons.
Okay.
I think I told you this before too. It's Jason Bateman, Jason Sudeikis, and Jason Mantzoukas.
Wow.
Those are, I don't know why, like I know like there are a lot of times like the voice of reason, or if they are unusual, like they're still very like like I don't know how to put it, but like it still feels like it's them. Like they're not like stretching too much, you know. And it's also a lot of voice stuff. They're not exactly physical people.
It's true.
They're much more cerebral, and our point of view, I think, is like the big thing, you know. So whenever they are like playing unusual, or whenever they're going big, it's in the things that they say, or the choices that they make, or the beliefs that they have.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, which is why you see a lot of me. I'm in a chair yelling out my bits.
Yeah, and also just really cerebral. Like you really value, and I've heard you say it before, of like, you know, playing with somebody who won't freeze on stage. Yeah. And you're somebody who will never freeze. Like even if crazy curveballs are thrown your way, you're generating how to frame it, how to place it, how to context it, how to continue the scene, you know? Yeah. And I think that's a superpower for sure.
Yeah. I think everybody has their own powers, and like, I think it's important to, like, in terms of like finding your voice, especially like lean into that part of your voice. That's what I don't like about a lot of classes early on, is you try to stifle those things about you, you know?
Yeah. It's like, all just formula.
Like, I've seen so many people that are like, they are like you, like they're parody, and they're physical, and they're loud, and they get like huge. And a lot of times the teacher's like, hey, like, tone it down, or like, try, why are you doing that, or think about this, blah blah.
That's
and
true.
That, although is good advice, it may not be good advice like in like 101 or 201, because they also should be leaning into that, you know. So it's like, continue, be louder, in fact, be bigger, but also as you're doing that, think about why you're doing it, you know.
When did you feel like your voice clicked in, that you found it?
You know, it wasn't, so I've been doing a lot of improv. I did a lot of short form, and short form, if you've never done it, is like just a lot of like punchlines, right? Know? So it was a lot of like math and like figures. So anyways, yeah, like in terms of knowing when I found my voice, it wasn't really until I started taking sketch classes though, because with improv, especially once you jump into the UCB style of doing things and doing long form, there's so much else. You know, short form is beautiful because you can just do that. But if it's long form, a lot of time it's like an initiation. You're like, okay, you called me sir, so I'm probably your boss. Like, you're figuring out everything else, and by the time you figure that out, like the unusual thing has gone right past you. Oh wait, I'm sorry, did you say that, you know, the mouse is in here, like whatever, right? So like, that's when I could slow down and in sketch write it out, and like I don't miss anything, because it's all me. There's no one else to like listen to. Right. That's when I was like, oh, this is easy, this is great. I can take my funny ideas and the funny specifics, and then I can interject them, and if I need to fix anything, you can always go back and like delete it. Yeah. But yeah, I would say in terms of I don't have any like clues or whatever, but I do think, and I would advise, I wish more improvisers would do this, especially UCB style improvisers. write more sketch.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because nobody ever says it. Maybe they do say it now, but like an improv scene at UCB is a sketch.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not writing it, if you're not watching it, then you don't really know what you're improvising.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're doing Shakespeare, you're not. You're doing a sketch.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're doing a rom-com, you're not. You're doing a sketch. So like I think that's why, for me, like doing sketch writing was my, like, for you it was like being in your body. For me it was like getting out of my body.
Yeah.
And it's just like me and the screen and my words.
Yeah.
So I think there's different approaches for different people.
Yeah.
Know?
And that's the beauty of like it all coming together in scene and in collaboration, which does kind of bring me to my hot take.
All right, great. Well,
we're ready for that segment.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap up our topic of the week, and we're gonna jump into our next segment, which is
our
hot improv take.
All right, so this is our opportunity to rant and just go off on an improv trend that we want to see more of, we want to see less of, or we think is just right. And Anja, sounds like you got yours ready to go, so I'll let you start.
What I think there should be more of is more than just improv. Is people coming together and writing sketches, people starting a web series, people, writing a pilot together, pitching it, putting things into action, because we are around so many talented voices and talented people that we love and like and have fun working with. So why not utilize that to the most that we can? We see people like Abby and Alana from Broad City who got together and wrote a web series, Broad City, and it became that. Key and Peele, came together and wrote Key and Peele. Like, or even just like they're dumb like TikTok stars, people who live like a TikTok house. They all live in a house and they create content and they're like 2 brain cells running. How cool would it be if there's like an improv, well, not improv house, but like comedians doing that kind of content?
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a really good inspiration. If 2 TikTokers, just because because of proximity, they can collaborate and work together.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't 2 people who do improv together and have at least 8 brain cells?
Yeah.
Why can't you all make that work?
I think what I would think is that it's fear of failure, which obviously like everybody has, right? And also something about improv is that it exists in one moment in time and that's it. Mm-hmm. If you make a mistake in a sketch or whatever, like, that's written in stone. Yeah. Or maybe it's time or motivation, I don't know, but because improv's easy, you just show up to the show and you do your thing. There's no pre-prep.
Oh my gosh, you just inspired me to change my hot improv take.
Okay.
Off of yours. You ready for mine?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Hot improv take. Improv is art. Improv is work. So put in time, put in work. You can't just show up. Like, I don't understand like the appeal and the draw and the whole thing is like, we made this all up. We didn't write anything. We didn't rehearse anything. That doesn't mean you still don't write, you still don't rehearse. You just have to do that. But again, you bring it to the stage in the moment. And then whenever you're doing a scene, you shouldn't be like caught off guard. Like whenever someone, again, the part about not freezing is like, oh gosh, I've never been dumped at the airport before. Of course, most of us haven't. So that means when you come into the scene and someone's like, hey, I'm about to get my flight. By the way, I think we should see other people. Don't freeze. You should have thought of that situation before, or it should be easy for you to adapt. Write an airport scene, write a breakup scene, a sketch. And then when you come into the scene, you know exactly, like you already know the specifics that you got to pull in and everything like that,
Sounds like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, but then,
but then you're prepared.
And I think improv should have some work involved. Like that's like part of our hot take is that
that's like a hot take.
You can't, maybe this isn't a hot take for the people listening to this podcast, because maybe if you're listening to a podcast, you are doing the work. But if this is for some reason the first episode you ever heard and you're like, improv sure is tough. Anja, tell them again how many times you practice or how many evenings you dedicate to improv.
Hours.
90%, you said.
90%
of her free evenings are dedicated to improv. That's what some of the work, that's like the work that you have to put in.
Okay. Yeah.
So someone's just like, well, I took 401, I passed.
Hell no. That's not the work.
That's not the work. Yeah. That's just the recipe. Now that you have the recipe, cook it 1,000,000 times until you get good at it.
Yeah. That was your buy-in into the cult. but it's not.
Okay.
You have to show up to the cult meetings to
No,
be in the
no,
cult.
no. Okay. It is a little bit of a cult. I'll give you that. That's a cult. But you know what? Fuck it. It is a cult.
Yeah, it is a cult.
And buy into it.
And so what? And
Stop
then
resisting the cult.
if that's the case, then so is sports.
Yeah, sports is a cult. And you know what else is also a cult?
What?
I couldn't think of one.
Scientology?
I froze. Scientology is definitely a cult. Everything you do is a cult. So
Everything you do.
yeah,
Your job is a cult.
that's a big one. Yeah. Your relationship is a cult. It's a 2-person cult. It sucked. It's tidy, but hey, it's a cult. It makes you happy.
Mm-hmm. And then if you get to meet their family, it's an even bigger cult.
Yeah.
Having kids is a cult.
Okay. I think we're going.
Everything. This is a cult right
This
now.
is a cult.
This is a cult right now.
Asking you to come over to my apartment to talk about improv is cult-like
That's
behavior.
cult-like.
Big cult.
And people
energy.
listening to this, even more cult.
Congratulations. You're in the
You're
cult.
in the cult.
You've been hypnotized. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and take it to our last section, which is just the plugs. But this is great because we have a lot of the same plugs.
Mhm.
So you want to go ahead and
Okay, come check out Glass Clown whenever
Glass
we're playing.
Clown.
Follow us on Instagram, Glass Clown Improv.
At Glass Clown Improv. We have a UCB show coming up. This is huge.
Mhm.
If you are listening to this in time, which you might not be, it is May 21st, Sunday,
Mhm. At 10.
10 p.m. at UCB. People always say UC Franklin, but that's all there is now.
That's all there is.
So
Yeah.
UCB, come out. Please support us. If you support us, we'll get a run. If you can't come out, buy a ticket. Doesn't matter. That's what they really care
That's what they care about.
Yeah. So support us there. And
support us at the Shared Experience.
Shared Experience Studio,
Which will be third Wednesdays at the Lyric Hyperion at 8:00.
9:30.
9:30. At 9:30.
Yeah. Well, they have an 8:00 show too.
Yeah,
So go to that. Go to the 8:00 show.
Mhm.
And here's the thing that's cool. They'll let you stay for the 9:30.
Yeah, for free.
For free. Same. The one ticket takes you the whole night. So you might as well come at the 8:00. And then we improv.
We improv.
Second and fourth
Fridays. We have our own show at the Clubhouse.
Be our guest on
Be
the
our guest on the
second.
second Wednesday. And
We're
then
talking in unison.
on the second and fourth Thursdays is the Herald Experience.
That's right. That's something that you've got going on. You're a producer at the Herald Experience. If you want to do Heralds, if you want to get those reps, you want to get more practice, guys, free opportunity to perform every second and fourth Thursday.
Yeah.
I credit the Herald Experience a lot to my ability to get really good at the Herald.
Totally.
So definitely check that out. And can't ask for a better community or better people to learn from. I know those UCB classes and jams can be very intimidating. These people are sweethearts.
Yeah, really kind.
Yeah. So give that a check out.
Fail.
And then last but not least, this is so crazy that we even have this at the same plug.
What?
No, a Lloyd night. We share
Lloyd
a
night. Come to Lloyd night every other Monday.
That's right.
Our next one is this coming Monday.
You have Bad Kisser and Odyssey. Either I'm opening for them or they're opening for us.
We have yet to see each other's set.
We have yet to see each other's set, but I hear good things.
Hear good things.
So come see both of us and you let us know the good things that you see. Think about both of our shows. That's an experience that both of us can't ever have.
Yeah.
To see both of us perform.
That's true. And yet we're in the same
night. Yeah.
Night.
All right, great.
Cool.
Well, that's gonna go ahead and do it. This is a super sized episode. I told you it's gonna be a special one.
Yeah.
So if this episode's longer than usual, you're welcome.
How long is it at right now?
It's about like an hour 30, hour 40.
Oh, wow.
But if it's edited down, which I again
cut out my childhood.
I might cut out her childhood.
That's okay.
But thanks so much for stopping by. This is a blast.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for accepting after my harassment. I hope it was worth it.
Oh, anytime. You want to come back on anytime.
Thanks.
Oh, one last thing to plug.
Our
Anja
podcast?
has actually done a podcast with me before. This is like a year ago. I wanna
Yeah.
say. What we
Maybe
talked
exactly
about.
a year. Yeah. The Switch.
I used to have a podcast called Rom Companion where I would bring on a guest. We would watch their favorite rom-com, and Anja brought on The Switch, which I loved. Starring Jason Bateman and Jennifer Aniston. So if you like that movie, listen to the episode. You can hear us both gab all about it.
Yeah.
If you don't like that movie, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Watch that movie.
It's good.
It's good.
it doesn't hold up great morally.
It does not age well.
It doesn't age well morally.
But pretend you're a teenage Anza watching this on Put Locker.
That's right.
After school.
That's right.
And then you'll see the hilarity and how heartwarming it is.
Yeah, as a child of divorce.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right.
All
great.
right, guys.
Thank you so much.
You.
Bye.
Bye.